In this video, we're going to learn how to play one of the best defenses in chess, the Caro-Kann Defence. So, what is the Caro-Kann? This opening starts off with white playing pawn to e4, black plays pawn to c6. White plays pawn to d4, so white has 2 in the centre, and black now strikes with d5. First thing to note is that if white takes, black will just take straight back. This opening was named after the English player Horatio Caro and the Austrian player Marcus Kahn. Combining their names, we get the opening the Caro-Kann. So the first setup we're going to look at is if white puts the knight on d2 or to c3. It doesn't matter because I'm still going to suggest the same move. After white gets the knight out to defend the pawn, I suggest you take. And when white takes back, now you challenge it with knight f6. Let's say white takes, and here's the cool thing. You take back with the e-pawn, so then here you actually have 4 pawns in front of your king. You've got extra safety. You've got extra protection. This bishop can come out, and then you can castle. So let's say white defends the center. Bishop out, facing the king side, facing that pawn. White does the same. Castle. The rook can also go to e8. Knight out, rook e8. Black's pieces are very well placed. Rook on the open file, the bishop faces that pawn. And let's say white castles. Now we can go queen c7, putting the queen on this diagonal. Another option is bishop g4. So let's discuss the plans here. This bishop is well placed because it pins the knight to the queen. The bishop can actually retreat. Maybe it wants to trade off for that bishop. Another idea. This knight can come to d7 because maybe it can come to f8 and then come to g6. Another idea, which we saw before, you can line up the queen and the bishop facing the king. Let's go for another setup. What if white now takes in the center? So white plays the exchange variation. Take, you take back with your pawn and bishop d3. White plans to support center with c3. So I suggest knight c6, you attack the center, white defends, and now you can go g6. Get the bishop out, get the knight out to the edge actually, then the knight can come to f5 and then castle. So let's play on a bit. So let's say knight out, bishop out, castle. The knight can go to the normal square f6, but in this variation, I suggest knight to the edge, then the knight can come here to f5. Rook in the middle by white and castle. So let's discuss the plans in this position. You can actually get the bishop out. So then you can offer a trade, and when that happens, you can take back with the knight. Or you could put the knight there straight away. Another plan. Maybe you get your pawns rolling with a6, b5, and also b4 to get some play. Another plan, get the queen out to c7. The queen is quite well placed here on this diagonal. Let's go for another setup. What if white plays d3 now? This is the King's Indian attack. After d5, white actually defends the center with the knight. Now, let's go g6. Very similar to what we saw before. White does the same. You get the bishop out, the bishop out. Now e6, so a triangle pawn center. Give your center support. White gets the knight out, knight e7, castle for both sides. Let's say white gets the rook in the middle, and now knight d7. So you've got 2 knights next to each other, which we are going to see later. You can actually get your pawn out to b6, and then this bishop can come out to b7 or a6. So I just want to show you one cool idea. If white plays a move like c3, which looks good because you're controlling the center, then you might go b6. And already you can play bishop out to attack this pawn. This is actually a really cool idea. I've used this in my games as well. That's why I'm recommending this setup to you. I played a Caro-Kann with black. It is a good opening. What if white now plays take, but now c4. This is called the Panov Botvinnik variation. You attack the center. What I'm going to suggest is you defend it with the knight. So at the moment you've got knight and queen defending it. White attacks it again. Now you attack white center. White gets the knight out, and now let's go g6. Then the bishop can come out and then castle. So if white plays bishop out, castle, castle, and then we can play from here. You might take in the center. You might get your bishop out. You might get your knight in. If we go back a few moves, maybe white challenges this by playing a move like bishop g5, attacking the knight. Then we can play this really cool move, bishop e6, which looks very, very strange. You defend the bishop with a pawn. If white takes the knight, you can take back. Now you've got 4 pawns in front of your king, which is the first setup we saw. If white takes again, you can take. That's why it was really useful to put the bishop on this square. If white takes, you can take. And you've got 4 pawns in front of your king. This is a very dangerous check for white to face. And once that check happens, you can castle. You are safe. How about if white goes for this setup? This is called the advanced variation. With this move, you're actually stopping black getting the knight out straight away. So, what happens now? Well, I'm going to recommend you play bishop f5. Get the bishop out, and then you can play e6. Now, white has lots of options here. The first option I want to show is h4, because this actually sets up a trap. If you play the normal move e6, which I just said 10 seconds ago, you actually lose the bishop. g4. The bishop moves, h5. You attack it, and now f3 again. Every square is guarded, so the bishop is trapped. So if we go back a few moves here, white wants to go g4, so you actually stop it with h5. You control the square with the pawn and the bishop. This bishop is very strong, so white might offer a trade with bishop out. So you can take it, he takes back with the queen, and now you can go e6. And then we can play knight out, and there are lots of ideas for black. The knight can come out here to come to f5. The queen can come out with check and come to b5, and also we have a pawn break idea, c5, to open up the position. So if check, if c3, queen b5. Offering a queen trade, but it's fine. It's quite a dynamic way to trade pieces, because after take, now you've got this square for the knight. You can go b4 to attack white's pawn structure. This knight can come out, like I said 10 seconds ago, this bishop can come out. And in this kind of position, maybe you just keep the king in the middle because the queens are not on the board. Going back to this position, after the bishop comes out, what if white just goes knight f3? This is fine. This is one of the top lines played by lots of top players. e6. So we have this setup, which I mentioned in a previous line. You get your triangle pawn center. Let's say they get the bishop out. Now let's go knight e7. And after castle, knight d7. So this is a cool setup to remember. You actually put both your knights on these squares. Black's next move might be c5, and the cool thing is you might put the other knight to c6. So just in 2 moves time, let's check this out. Let's say white does this, getting the knights out. The knights defend each other. Now you go c5. This is a pawn break. You attack the structure. If white defends it, so then white has a long pawn chain. Now you go knight c6. And this can be a nice way to play for black. So notice, this knight went from here to here. This knight came here. This bishop can come out, and then black's next move can be castle, and black is safe. You can time it when you want to take in the center, and then you open up the position. So black is fine here. What if white plays knight out? This is a very popular way to play the 2 knights. You get both knights out, and in this position I'm going to suggest you pin this knight. Stop this knight moving straight away with bishop g4. By the way, I don't want you to fall for this plan. This move looks good because you attack the knight, but after this move, white attacks your pawn. If you defend it, you've actually wasted time moving this pawn twice. White can now break open the structure, and after take, white is now much better because white has 2 knights in the game. He's going to get the bishop out and castle, and really, if we look at black's position, black only has a pawn out, so I don't want you to go for this. So bishop g4 is a very useful move. You pin the knight to the queen. And if white attacks you, I'm going to suggest you take. They take with the queen and then e6. So here we go again. I think I mentioned this twice already. You get a triangle pawn center, a very stable way to play. So how are we going to get the black pieces out? Let's say white gets the center. You challenge the center. Now white can defend it, but if they push, this is actually exactly what you want. The knight now tucks back. And do you remember, in the previous line, in the advanced line, we have this knight here, and this knight here, and it's going to go here. Once the pawn goes to c5, once again to create a pawn break, to free your position. So let's say bishop out and now c5. So let's explain every arrow. We are ready to take, to open up the position for us. The knight can come out, the bishop can come out, and then you can castle. This is a nice way to play. So in this line, remember, you can pin the knight to the queen, and if they kick you away, you can take, and then you go for a triangle. I hope you will take what you've learned in this video and go use it in your next game. Have I covered every single line? No, but I've covered most of the lines. If you play any Caro-Kann games, then please paste it below. Provide a link. I can go check it out, and then maybe I can collect lots of games in the Caro-Kann, or the Queens Gambit, or the London, and then create a video analysing your games. So please leave a link in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, please give this video a like because it really does help out the channel. Consider subscribing and pressing the bell because you will get notified when I release a new video. Here is one opening video. If you want to learn how to play the Queen's Gambit, I've got this video over here. If you want to learn another opening, I've got the London system over here. Thanks for watching.